Welcome everybody, and I hope everybody's doing well and staying healthy and making good choices out there. So we're continuing in calculus where we're trying to find the area underneath a curve. Now, what we've done so far before is always find the area with respect to x. Now we're going to have this with respect to y, and there are some cases where you have to do with respect to y instead of doing respect to x, and there's some very small nuances. This picture that I've drawn here, if you try to do it with respect to x, and make sure I got my black highlighted there, and if I was trying to do it with respect to x, it would be just up and down, up and down, up and down. The problem with looking at this is whenever I talk about top minus bottom, specifically like this region right here, the top and the bottom would be the exact same function, which would actually cancel itself out, which we know obviously the answer is not going to cancel itself out. So what we have to do here is kind of think of this as a sideways shading going in this way. And what I like to usually say on this is that we always take right minus left. And when you look at this, the right minus left, this is the right side, this is the left side. Do notice that the function is from C to D, the lowest intersection to the highest intersection of D, and they're also G of Y, F of Y with respect to Y. So definitely be careful with the notation. Make sure you know what you're using in the details. I'm only going to do two problems here, so we'll go through this kind of quickly. Just a second, let me get rid of that. And so if you look at this first problem, something that you should notice is that the equations already read y equals. Well, when we're trying to do with respect to x, then we want it as y equals. When we want it as respect to y, we want the equations to read x equals. So I do have to take both equations. I'm going to take the first one here, y equals the square root x divided by 17 plus 4. And the other equation, y equals the square root 4 minus x, and solve for the x value. I want the equation to read x equals. So if you write this out, obviously to get rid of the square root, I have to square both sides. To get rid of the plus 4, I have to subtract 4. To get rid of dividing by 17, I have to multiply by 17, and I'm just going to leave it as 17 times that part. Actually, knowing that I have to type it into the equation, I am going to go ahead and distribute that. 17 times 4 is 68, so I do get x equals 17y squared minus 68. Do the same thing on the other one. Solve for x, so it becomes y squared equals 4 minus x. Subtract 4 over, I get equals negative x, and divide by a negative x, and I get negative y squared plus 4, or if you want to turn it around to say 4 minus y squared, perfectly fine as well. Now the problem is they want to get the constraint, and obviously the lowest value here is 0, but I don't know my highest value of constraint. I could set the equations equal to each other, solve them out just like I could, but I'm going to go ahead and just save some time. Let's go to Desmos. Type in the notation here. So y equals square root x divided by 17 plus 4. And then the other one, y equals square root x plus 4. Just like I want to make sure I have everything written correctly. I feel like for some reason one of those equations is incorrect. It's 4 minus x for the other one. Let me write that out. 4 minus x. There's the equation. Let me zoom out slightly here. As you can see, this picture here is curving down. So the picture that they gave you back on this one, very misleading. As you can see, this is the picture. But all I'm concerned about is like, what's the highest point? Where do they meet? And it is 0, 2. And since this is with respect to y, I want to know what's that y value, that highest constraint. In this case, is going to be 2. Now, again, what I want to calculate is from right to left. So I'm just going to take the right value, which is this right here. I am going to go ahead and just write that as 4 minus y squared minus, again, it's just right minus left, 17 y squared minus 68. I haven't written this out in advance, so I don't know if they want you to simplify. I'm going to go ahead and check the answer. Hey, it's perfect. And then the last answer is, what is the total region? Type it in your calculator. Obviously, it probably doesn't want decimal answers. It doesn't say anything about the solution. Check with the question help. I don't believe it wants a decimal answer. All right, I am going to leave this part. I'm going to go to question 3 now. Now, the key thing about question 3 is that there's 2 ways to approach it, with respect to x, with respect to y. So if you read the question, first of all, we got to match up which one. It is this one. What gives it away, this y equals 2. Y equals 2 is a horizontal line, so it either has to be A or B, can't be C or D. And then this x to the 2/5 does kind of like make a fifth root type curve, so it does make like a square root type symbol there. So it is that picture, not that one. And so they're looking for this. Now, what is the area bounded by the curve? It doesn't even ask for the integral. I don't care how you approach it. The equation already says y equals on both of them. So if you want to do with respect to x, and instead of just writing with respect to x, I'm just going to write dx. Well, looking at this, basically, since I'm doing it with respect to x, that just means I have to go from left to right. I'm going to go to Desmos and graph this just so I can kind of see like the picture. What does it look like? So y equals x to the 2/5. And the other one was y equals 2, just simply y equals 2. As you can see, I got to zoom into the picture. Now, it does want this region, so I want to know what's that intersection point. And if I went with respect to x, it would be from 0 to 5.657. Whoa, not a pretty number. But, and so I'm actually going to change my direction on this. I'm not even going to complete this problem. You can still do it. It will work out. But it's going to be so much easier if I do this with respect to y, and I'm going to do it in the rainbow marker here, rainbow pen, and so it's going to be integral from 0 to 2. The reason why it's from 0 to 2 is because this is the region we're trying to find. Since we're doing with respect to y, we're looking at the y-axis, so 0 is the low point, 2 is the high point. Let me go back to the graph. Let me go back to my work here. And the equations, though, again, they say y equals, I want x equals, so I'm actually going to solve it just in my head here. So it'll be y to the 5/2 equals x, and the other one's just going to be y equals 2. I don't have to do anything with that one. And again, what's kind of nice about this picture, since I'm doing it with respect to y, the picture's going to go in this direction. Well, I don't have a bottom part of the graph because it's sitting on the y-axis. 0 is the bottom. If I take top minus bottom, right minus left, well, the left side's going to be 0. I don't need to include that in there. So when you look at that, and again, that's 5/2. Hopefully you can read my handwriting. It's just going to be, let me go back to my rainbow, y to the 5/2 dy. I'm going to go ahead and just type that into my calculator just so I can kind of save some time here, 0 to 2. And I know the equation, obviously it says y. You can still type in x in the calculator. The calculator will give you the right answer. The calculator doesn't know any difference between x and y. I did get a weird decimal. Let me just verify this, check everything. So to finish this problem up, and again, just remember you have to add 1 to the exponent. You get 7/2 and then divide by that. I did get the answer of 2 7s, and again, I've already just plugged it in. Plug in 2 to the 7/2. That's really saying 128, and it's still doing the square root of that. I just took 2 to the 7th power, And the square root of 128 can actually be broken down to square root of 64 times square root of 2 over 7, which you should know square root of 64 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Square root of 2 over 7. Ooh, quite a bit of work there. So just notice I do want you to type it in as an exact answer. I'm going to go ahead and try this. If this doesn't work, then just be careful. Oops, I got to put the 7 on the bottom. Just be careful on how you type everything in, check answer, and there you are. Wow, what a crazy problem. Hey, have a good day and take your time. Thank you.